IBM Multimedia is publishing two new football games for Microsports for the PC, Pro League Football and All-American College Football. But these games are not necessarily aimed at the football action fan. Instead, these games are directed at the strategy fan, the armchair managers, the guys who always wanted to run a team, not just be a player. These two games let the player wheel and deal the players, teams, and leagues, call the plays, and substitute players. Everything that a manager, coach, and commissioner can do. The only real difference between the two games are the teams that are involved. Pro League Football features the actual teams and players from the NFL. And the All-American College Football package includes all of the NCAA participants. The entire game is put together in a series of modules, with each module being accessed individually. The player starts out on the General Manager module, which is the gateway to all of the other modules. From the General Manager screen, the player is presented with a picture of every team's helmet, which provides player performance records for that team when clicked on. There's also an icon for both conferences, which provide conference records. Some of the other modules include League Leaders, which provides information on the leaders in each league that has been set up or in each conference. There's also the Stats Download module, which lets the player access a phone number which downloads all of the current football information, ensuring that the players and statistics in the PC game are as current as possible. And there's a Stats Keeper module, which keeps tracks of all statistics on each player, team, conference, and league. And one of the really nice things is that just about any report or statistic can be printed out. One of the first things a player will want to do is set up their own league. The game comes with a default league, but the player can set up a league consisting of any team from the last 6 years, including the 1995 teams and the two new NFL expansion teams. Virtually any aspect that's possible to adjust can be adjusted, including which teams are in a league and the schedule that league is to follow. It's even possible to put different teams from different years into one league to see how they would fare against each other. But what fun would a football game be if you can't mess around with the players on the teams? Basically, anything goes in these games, which lets the player use the trade module to move players around from team to team, making that dream team you've always wanted a reality. There's also a draft module, which can be used to throw any of the players from any of the teams into a draft pool. Teams from any year can be used, or you can use teams which have been customized and saved. The player can specify things like rational or descending styles of draft rounds, the number of rounds to be used, and whether or not a budget is to be used by the teams. There are even college players available for choosing in the Pro League. The Team Editor module is where the fine-tuning is done for any of the teams. An existing team can be used, or the player can design their own team from scratch. Each of the player's individual ratings can be modified in any fashion, the starters can be designated, and formations like the Pro Set or I formation can be edited. Anything you want to change, from running ability to the player's name, can be changed. Okay, so we've messed with everything possible. Now let's get to actually playing a game of football. Before playing a game, the player can pick which teams are playing against each other, designate which team is home and which is away, the manner that tie games are handled, and the weather, which can be either computer or user-defined. The game can also be set up for modem play, autoplay for league games, the month the game is being played, and whether or not injuries are to be used. After all of these parameters are set, a map of the US is shown with all weather patterns outlined on the map showing what climate the game will be played in. There's also a thermometer showing the temperature, and a rain gauge shows the amount of precipitation that will be falling during the game. When the player sets all of the game parameters, if you're playing against the computer, a screen will pop up that allows the player to adjust any of the computer's game tendencies. If the player doesn't want to adjust anything, the default values will be used. Things like the percentage of times the computer will run on 1st and 10, and the likelihood of a blitz can be set to whatever level the player wants. Once these levels are set, it's time to play a game. Playing a game in Pro League Football or All-American College Football consists mainly of calling or setting up plays. For quick decisions, a preset play can be chosen from the playbook, but that means that the player must know the playbook intimately. An easier but more time-consuming way of choosing a play is to define it from the ground up. An offensive play is designed by choosing a passing or running play, the formation of the team, the receiver or ball carrier, and the route the receiver or carrier runs. Defensively, the player can choose to defend for a pass or run, the formation of the line, and in which direction each lineman is to go, man or zone coverage, whether that coverage will be tight or loose, the number of men blitzing, and what opposing player to key on. When the ball is snapped, the player watches the results of his decision via animated teams. There is no arcade interaction in these games, only pure football strategy. Pro League Football and All-American College Football are for the gamer who always wanted to run his own football organization. The folks who dig all the strategies and statistics that are involved with the game of football will really want to give these games a try. I can see these games being ideal for the person who has a computer but doesn't like messing around with joysticks and trying to time things just right. Football fanatics who have a computer for balancing their checkbook will probably find these games a godsend. Expect them to hit store shelves sometime in October.